What is the secret to true happiness? How can we cultivate it within ourselves? These are age-old questions that have puzzled humanity for centuries. Welcome to our exploration of the art of happiness, a journey that delves into the heart of these queries. We'll be navigating through this fascinating topic by discussing 4 key elements that shape our happiness: compassion, perspective, managing emotions, and inner peace. Compassion, a genuine concern for others, can bring joy and fulfillment. Shifting our perspective, reframing challenges can reduce suffering and increase happiness. Managing emotions, overcoming anger, anxiety, and hatred can prevent unnecessary suffering. And finally, developing inner peace through mindfulness, meditation, and gratitude can lead us to the ultimate source of happiness. Remember, happiness is not an external treasure to be found, but an internal state to be cultivated. So let's delve deep into these 4 elements and understand how they contribute to our happiness. The first element to happiness is practicing compassion and kindness. Now, what does this mean exactly? The Dalai Lama, a beacon of wisdom and serenity, offers some insight into this. He believes that true happiness doesn't just spring from self-centered desires, but rather from a genuine concern for others. In his words, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. But how does compassion tie into our own happiness? Well, science has some answers. Studies suggest that acts of kindness, such as volunteering or even simply helping a stranger, can significantly boost our happiness and emotional well-being. These acts shift our focus away from our personal problems, creating a sense of purpose and fulfillment. The brain rewards these acts of kindness by releasing dopamine, a hormone that makes us feel good. This is why people who routinely volunteer often report feeling more fulfilled and less lonely. So, it's not just about doing good for the sake of others, but also about the positive impact it has on our own emotional health. This understanding deepens our perspective on compassion and kindness, showing us that they are not just altruistic virtues, but also essential components of our own happiness. So it's clear that compassion isn't just about making others happy, it's about fostering happiness within ourselves. The second element to happiness is shifting our perspective. It's a remarkable fact that our interpretation of events, rather than the events themselves, can have a profound impact on our happiness. The Dalai Lama teaches us that suffering is not just about what happens to us, but how we interpret it. He says, the ability to shift perspective can reduce suffering and increase happiness. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Let's take a moment to consider this in light of a powerful example. A Tibetan monk was imprisoned and tortured for years. When asked about his greatest fear, he didn't mention the physical pain or the loss of freedom. His reply was, "I was afraid of losing compassion for my captors." This is a profound shift in perspective. Instead of seeing himself as a victim, he focused on maintaining compassion, which prevented hatred and suffering from consuming him. This monk chose to view his captors not as enemies but as fellow human beings, capable of cruelty, yes, but also capable of kindness and change. This shift in perspective allowed him to maintain his compassion, and in doing so, he found a path to happiness even in the most dire of circumstances. To wrap it up, shifting our perspective is about reframing the way we view our challenges. It's about finding the silver linings, the lessons in our struggles, and the strength in our hardships. It's not about what happens to us, but how we interpret it that determines our happiness. The third element to happiness is managing our negative emotions. It's natural to experience feelings like anger, anxiety, and hatred from time to time. But we must not let these emotions control us. Instead, we should recognize them, manage them, which can prevent unnecessary suffering. The Dalai Lama puts it this way: anger is like a fire burning inside, harming the person who holds it more than the one it is directed at. This quote reminds us that anger, while a valid emotion, can cause more harm to us than to the person or situation we're angry at. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. Now, let's dive into a key lesson about managing negative emotions. Often, anger arises from unrealistic expectations or attachment to how things should be. For instance, if someone insults you, the natural reaction is anger. But if you take a moment to reflect, you might see that their anger stems from their own suffering, not because of you. So, instead of reacting with hatred, try responding with understanding and patience. It might be challenging at first, but with practice, this approach can dissolve conflicts and improve relationships. It's like extinguishing that fire of anger with a cool wave of understanding. By regulating our emotional responses, we can prevent unnecessary suffering and increase happiness. So, remember, your emotions are valid, but they don't have to control you. You have the power to manage them effectively. The fourth and final element to happiness is developing inner peace. Inner peace is not a destination we reach, but a journey we undertake. It is not found in the external achievements we amass or in the validation we seek from others, but rather it comes from within. It is a state of tranquility that we cultivate through calming our minds, practicing mindfulness, and appreciating the present moment. The Dalai Lama once said, "The ultimate source of happiness is within us." Peace of mind comes from inner discipline, meditation, and focusing on what we can control. This quote encapsulates the essence of inner peace. It is not about controlling everything around us, but about finding serenity in what we can control, which is our mind and our reactions. As an example, the Dalai Lama starts his day with meditation and reflection. This practice helps him center his mind and prevents distractions from seeping into his consciousness. Meditation is not just a practice, but a way of life. It helps us cultivate mindfulness, allowing us to live in the present moment and appreciate what we have. Even amidst chaos, we can find peace. It's about focusing on our breath, embracing the silence within us, and expressing gratitude for the simple things in life. Inner peace is a conscious choice, a decision we make every day. It's a discipline, a habit, a practice. Inner peace comes from calming our minds, living in the present moment, and appreciating what we have. So, what have we learned about the art of happiness? We've discovered that happiness doesn't happen by chance, nor does it rely solely on external factors. Instead, it's an internal state of mind that we can consciously cultivate. We can train our minds for happiness by practicing compassion and kindness. As the Dalai Lama emphasizes, when we help others, we shift our focus from personal problems, fostering a sense of purpose and fulfillment. We've also learned the power of shifting our perspective to reduce suffering, reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. We've explored how to manage negative emotions, preventing anger, anxiety, and hatred from controlling us. And finally, we've highlighted the importance of developing inner peace through mindfulness, meditation, and gratitude. The Dalai Lama teaches us that even in chaotic situations, we can find tranquility by focusing on breathing, silence, and appreciation. By incorporating these elements into our lives, we can cultivate true happiness from within.